What happens the very moment your eyes close for the last time on this earth? Most people, even those who have sat in the pews for decades, believe that death is a long sleep. They believe that we simply drift into a peaceful fog, waiting for a distant trumpet to sound. But Joseph Smith saw something very different. The prophet of the Restoration had the veil pulled back multiple times, and what he witnessed regarding the spirit world was not a place of idle rest, but a world of staggering activity, intense emotion, and a level of reality that makes this life look like a shadow. 90% of saints don't realize that the period between your death and your resurrection is not a waiting room. It is a battlefield. It is a university. And for some, it is a place of internal fire. Joseph Smith saw 5 specific things that happen in the spirit world before the resurrection, and if you understand these 5 things, it will change how you pray, how you repent, and how you look at every person you meet on the street. Stay until the end, because the third thing Joseph revealed is perhaps the most misunderstood and, frankly, the most terrifying part of the postmortal journey. Most people think they understand the spirit prison, but Joseph's private teachings reveal a psychological reality that most are simply not prepared to face. The first thing Joseph Smith saw was a process of radical, accelerated learning that defies human logic. In the Doctrine and Covenants, section 130, verses 18 and 19, the prophet recorded a principle that many read but few truly grasp. He said, "Whatever principle of intelligence we attain unto in this life, it will rise with us in the resurrection. And if a person gains more knowledge and intelligence in this life through his diligence and obedience than another, he will have so much the advantage in the world to come." But Joseph didn't just mean book learning. He was talking about the expansion of the spirit's capacity to perceive reality. He saw that, when the spirit is finally unshackled from the clods of this earth, as he often called the physical body, the mind begins to function at a speed we cannot imagine. Joseph Smith once taught that the spirit is not a ghost-like vapor. It is refined matter. When you die, you don't become a different person, but you do become a person with a much more powerful processor. Imagine trying to see the world through a tiny pinhole in a dark curtain. That is what this life is like compared to the spirit world. Joseph Smith revealed that the moment you cross over, the curtain is shredded. You begin to learn not by studying, but by seeing and knowing in a way that is instantaneous. He described the spirit world as being right here around us but in a different sphere. The spirits of the departed are not millions of miles away on some distant star. They are enveloping us, as he suggested in several of his later sermons. They are learning about the progress of the work on earth, they are learning about the laws of the universe, and they are being tutored by those who have been there longer. This is why Joseph was so obsessed with the school of the prophets. He was trying to prepare the saints for the university of the Spirit. If you think you're going to spend eternity sitting on a cloud, you have been misled. Joseph saw a hive of intellectual and spiritual activity where the greatest minds of all history are currently engaged in the most complex education ever devised. He saw that those who neglected their education on earth, both spiritual and intellectual, found themselves behind the veil in a state of confusion, struggling to catch up to the light that was blindingly obvious to those who had prepared. This is the advantage he spoke of. It isn't about status. It's about the ability to comprehend the glory of God without being overwhelmed by it. The second thing Joseph Smith saw was the return of a perfect, bright remembrance. This is something that should both comfort you and cause you to pause. In the Book of Mormon, which Joseph brought forth by the gift and power of God, Alma describes this phenomenon in chapter 11, verse 43. He says we shall have a bright recollection of all our guilt. But Joseph Smith expanded on this in his private teachings and through the revelations in the Pearl of Great Price. He saw that the veil of forgetfulness that was placed over our minds when we were born into this world begins to thin and eventually dissolve in the spirit world. Think about what that means. Right now, you have forgotten the eons of time you spent in the presence of the Father before the world was. You have forgotten the covenants you made. You have forgotten the faces of your heavenly parents. Joseph Smith saw that as we move deeper into the spirit world, those memories start to rush back. This is the remembrance that the prophets speak of. It is not just remembering what you did yesterday. It is remembering who you are. Joseph saw that for the righteous, this is a moment of unspeakable joy. It is like returning home after a long, brutal war and finally recognizing your family again. But he also saw that this remembrance brings a profound sense of accountability. You will remember the promises you made in the premortal councils. You will remember the specific missions you volunteered for. And you will see, with perfect clarity, how your actions on earth aligned or misaligned with those eternal commitments. Joseph warned that many saints are living far below their privileges because they have forgotten their royal lineage. In the spirit world, that amnesia ends. You will see every missed opportunity, every unkind word, and every moment you chose the world over the spirit. Not because God is pointing a finger at you, but because your own memory will become a perfect record. Joseph Smith taught that the book of life mentioned in the scriptures is actually the record written in our own members, our own minds and bodies. In the spirit world, that book is opened, and for the first time, you will read it without any excuses or justifications. Now we come to the third thing Joseph Smith saw, and this is the one that I told you is the most misunderstood stage of the spirit world. Most people think of spirit prison as a literal jail with bars and guards, or perhaps a dark place where people wait in sorrow. But Joseph Smith revealed something much more profound and, in many ways, more sobering. He taught that the hell or the prison of the spirit world is largely a state of mind. In the History of the Church, Volume 6, page 314, Joseph made a statement that should chill every one of us to the bone. He said, "The great misery of departed spirits in the world of spirits is to know that they come short of the glory that others enjoy and that they might have enjoyed themselves, and they are their own accusers." Read that again. They are their own accusers. Joseph Smith saw that the lake of fire and brimstone, often described in the scriptures, is not a literal pit of fire created by God to torture his children. Instead, he taught that it is the mental agony of a soul that realizes it has wasted its probation. He said that a man is his own tormentor and his own condemner. This is the part 90% of saints don't realize. We often think we can slide by on mediocre discipleship and that everything will work out because God is merciful. And God is merciful, but mercy cannot remove the mental fire of realizing you threw away a crown. Joseph saw spirits in the spirit world who were in outer darkness, not because God locked them in a dark room, but because they had become so accustomed to darkness on earth that they could not stand the light of the spirit world. It was too painful to look at. This accountability phase is the most misunderstood because people think it's a legal proceeding. It's not. It's a biological and spiritual reality. If you have not developed the capacity to love, truth, to seek light, and to serve others, you will find yourself in a prison of your own character. Joseph Smith saw spirits weeping, not because they were being whipped by demons, but because they were looking at the glory of the celestial kingdom and realizing they had no attainments to enter there. They didn't have the oil in their lamps. This is why Joseph was so urgent. This is why he cried out to the saints to make your calling and election sure. He wasn't trying to be a taskmaster. He was a man who had seen the mental agony of the spirit world and was trying to save us from ourselves. He saw that the prison is the realization that you are exactly who you chose to be, and in the spirit world you can no longer hide behind a mask. The fourth thing Joseph Smith saw was a mobilization of effort that makes the greatest organizations on earth look like child's play. He saw the organization of the missionary work in the spirit world. While this was later codified by his nephew, President Joseph F. Smith, in Doctrine and Covenants section 138, the foundations of this doctrine were laid by the prophet Joseph himself. Joseph taught that the priesthood is not just for this life. He said that when a faithful elder dies, he goes to the other side of the veil to continue his ministry. Joseph saw that the spirit world is divided, but not by impassable walls. There is a great gulf. Yes, but Joseph saw that the bridge across that gulf is the priesthood of God. Imagine the scene he described: millions upon millions of people who lived and died without ever hearing the name of Jesus Christ, or who heard a distorted version of his gospel. Joseph saw that the spirit world is the greatest missionary field in existence. He saw the righteous, those who have accepted the gospel and been valiant, being organized into missionary corps. They are sent into the prison sectors to teach, to reclaim, and to offer hope. Joseph saw that this is why we build temples. He realized that the work on both sides of the veil is one single, massive operation. He saw that our ancestors are not just waiting for us to do their temple work. They are actively being prepared to accept it. This is the great mobilization. Joseph saw that the spirit world is a place of intense labor. There are no vacations there. There is no retirement. If you are a member of the Church of Jesus Christ, your death is simply a transfer to a new mission president. Joseph saw that the spirits of the righteous are clothed with power and authority to go among the spirits of the dead and preach the everlasting gospel. This should give you an immense sense of purpose. Your life doesn't end at the grave. Your real career is just beginning. Joseph saw that the spirits who accept the gospel in the spirit world are filled with an urgency to have their work done on earth, and they whisper to their living relatives, prompting them to find their records and go to the temple. Joseph saw a constant communication between the two worlds, a welding link that binds the human family together. If you are feeling a nudge to do your family history, that isn't just a random thought. It is the result of the mobilization Joseph Smith witnessed. Finally, the fifth thing Joseph Smith saw was the intense, visceral preparation for the resurrection. We often think of the resurrection as something that just happens one day when a trumpet sounds. But Joseph saw that for the spirits in the spirit world, the resurrection is the ultimate goal toward which every single moment of their existence is directed. In Doctrine and Covenants 138, verse 50, it says that the dead looked upon the long absence of their spirits from their bodies as a bondage. Joseph Smith taught that the spirit without the body is incomplete. He saw that the spirits of the righteous are constantly preparing themselves to receive their bodies back, but not just any body. They are preparing to receive a body celestial, terrestrial, or telestial, according to the laws they have obeyed. Joseph saw that there is a specific key to the resurrection. He taught that it is a priesthood ordinance. He saw that there are those who hold the keys of the resurrection who will be responsible for calling others forth. This is a deep, insider doctrine that Joseph rarely spoke of in public, but he hinted at it in his private journals and in the records of those close to him. He saw that the preparation for the resurrection involves a process of refining. Just as a student prepares for a final exam, the spirits in the spirit world are refining their natures, shedding the last vestiges of their telestial desires, and learning how to handle the weight of glory that comes with a resurrected body. Joseph Smith saw that the moment of resurrection is the climax of all human history. He saw the restitution of all things. He saw families being reunited, not as ghosts, but as physical, tangible beings who can embrace and touch. He once said at a funeral, "Would you think it strange if I say that I have seen the dead? I have seen them in their glory." He saw that the righteous who are waiting for the resurrection are filled with a glorious hope. They aren't afraid of the judgment. They are eager for it because they have spent their time in the spirit world preparing for it. They have done the work. They have learned the lessons. They have accepted the atonement. Joseph saw that for these individuals, the resurrection is not a day of dread, but a day of coronation. So why does this matter to you today? Why did Joseph Smith bother to reveal these things? It's because he wanted us to stop living for the next 40 or 50 years and start living for the next 40 or 50 billion years. He saw that the veil is much thinner than we think. He saw that the choices you make this afternoon, the way you treat your spouse, the way you spend your private time, the way you respond to the promptings of the Spirit are literally building the mental state you will inhabit the moment you die. If you are living in a way that creates mental agony now, if you are hiding sins, if you are harboring bitterness, if you are neglecting your spiritual education, Joseph Smith's warning is clear. You are building your own prison. But the good news is that the great mobilization is happening right now. The Savior's atonement reaches into the spirit world. You can start the process of accelerated learning today. You can begin the bright recollection of your divine identity today. Joseph Smith saw a world of light, of work, and of staggering potential. He saw that death is not the end of the road, but the entrance to a much larger one. He saw that the spirit world is not a myth. It is the most real place you will ever visit. This is why he was willing to die for his testimony. He knew where he was going. He had seen the thousands of angels waiting to welcome him. He had seen the school of the prophets on the other side, and he wanted us to be there with him. The question is, are you preparing? Are you doing the things that will give you an advantage in the world to come? Or are you drifting, hoping that everything will just work out? Joseph Smith's revelations leave no room for drifting. They call us to action. They call us to a higher standard of discipleship. They call us to realize that we are eternal beings currently having a very brief, very intense mortal experience. The veil was lifted for Joseph Smith so that it could be thinned for us. He saw these 5 things: the learning, the remembrance, the accountability, the mobilization, and the preparation, so that we wouldn't be shocked when we cross over. He wanted us to be ready. He wanted us to be anxiously engaged in the work on both sides of the veil. If this message has touched your heart, if you feel that nudge from the other side, I invite you to make a commitment today. Don't let your book of life be a record of wasted time. Start building your celestial character now. Comment below with the phrase, "I am preparing today," to signify your commitment to living with an eternal perspective. And if you want to dive deeper into the hidden gems of LDS history and the powerful prophecies of Joseph Smith, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We are uncovering the truths that have been ignored for too long. Joseph Smith saw the future, and it is more glorious and more demanding than we ever imagined. The spirit world is waiting. The question is, what kind of spirit will you be when you arrive? The light is there. The knowledge is there. The power is there. Now is the time to claim it. Stay faithful, stay focused, and remember that the best is yet to come. This is the restoration, and the work has only just begun.